Films directed by Ridley Scott are never terrible, but they do range from average to excellent. And honestly, at this point in Ridley Scott's career and my career in reviewing, I can always kind of distinguish which Ridley Scott film is going to be excellent and which is going to be average or subpar. Excellent being like the first Alien, even though the sequel Aliens was even better. Prometheus, I personally love Prometheus. I think it's an excellent film, especially compared to its sequel, Alien Covenant, which is a cliche piece of crap. The Martian is an excellent film, but then we also get giant editing messes of film from Ridley Scott, like Exodus, Gods and Kings, which I saw in theaters with my family, and I didn't mind it. There were some entertaining parts to Exodus, but it was just a giant mess. It was just Ridley Scott, yet again, trying to be a 2.5 hour giant epic with really no substance. So now fast forward a couple of years later, we get a bunch of trailers in the last 6 months for a little film randomly called House of Gucci. And every single time I saw the trailer for House of Gucci, I said to myself, this looks like Ridley Scott. That's it. This is literally just a Hollywood film practically about Hollywood things with a Hollywood story of assassination in the end and love, greed, power, blah, blah, blah. It's very Ridley Scott and it's very Hollywood. Well, I just watched House of Gucci right before this review, and what I can say is 95% of what I originally thought about House of Gucci before watching it, I was correct. But it was still directed and made by Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott has this thing with making films where if it were any other director, it would be a piece of crap if it's a bad film. But when Ridley Scott directs a bad film, somehow, there are still parts to it that are incredibly made and just great filmmaking. And that's House of Gucci. House of Gucci is an exquisite piece of film. And I mean, it's an elegantly made film. It's excellently written. Excellent dialogue. It's really well acted. Very well acted. The directing is commendable, honestly, for basically a film with a story that's been done so many times, but with a certain family. Ridley Scott just has a way to turn cliche standard stories and somewhat characters into lively films and stories. And House of Gucci is exactly that. It's elegantly made, well written, excellently acted, well directed, inside of a very standard cliche wannabe rich assassination piece. Personally, I'm a little conflicted on my opinion with House of Gucci, but I'm also not, because objectively speaking, this is extremely cliche storytelling at its finest. But then, on the other hand, it's Ridley Scott doing what Ridley Scott does best, directing. And he is an excellent director. Even when he makes a steaming pile of crap, he is an excellent director that knows how to push the film into excellence. And that's kind of where I am with House of Gucci. It's nowhere near greatness, but it's nowhere near travesty or just god-awfulness. House of Gucci, it's not even mediocre, really. It's actually pretty good because it's excellent here and here and here, but it's also pretty rote and cliche here. And to me, it balances it out, but it still has a little bit more highs than it does lows. Really, the only low for House of Gucci that I can say is that it's just a cliche story of love, greed, and power, and murder. Otherwise, outside of that, what lifts House of Gucci up are the excellent performances. Let's start with Lady Gaga, who is a once known singer, and I was never really a fan of Lady Gaga as a singer until I watched A Star Is Born. And before A Star Is Born, I always thought she was just kind of like any other mediocre generic pop singer. Then I watched A Star Is Born and I realized she actually has talent. Lady Gaga is actually a really good singer. And now she's an excellent actress. Honestly, she may be a better actress than a singer, which is really hard to believe because she is a phenomenal singer. And she mostly is the one that carries this film, set aside Jared Leto. Now, my second best performance in this for me, I would have to say, is Jared Leto playing Paolo Gucci. He's kind of just the cousin that nobody likes. Everybody refers to as the idiot. He has all these crazy, weird, unique ideas. Nobody ever listens to him. They say no to everything, but they still give him a well-maintained lifestyle. And you can say he's the punching bag in this film throughout. He's just kind of the comedic relief. But his character still works because there is a diverse cast of characters in House of Gucci. Lady Gaga's character, Patrizia, I don't even know her original last name, but Patrizia Gucci, who is the star character. And then you have Adam Driver's character, Maurizio Gucci, however you say his first name, who is the one that marries Patrizia. And the story is just she and he meet near the beginning, and I will admit, when they first meet, it's not planned at all, and they just start hitting it off, and maybe 5 minutes in, if not less, you could just feel that she was just in it just for the money right from the get-go. But when they first encounter and meet, that's actually a really good, really well shot and directed scene up until she finds out his name. Then you could tell she just really forces herself in his life to the point of she literally stalks him after that night. And for some reason, everybody tells him all of these red flags that she shows and has physically done, but he doesn't see it. And this is inspired by the true story of the whole Gucci family and what happened with their business and their family and their empire. So anyway, we've got Patrizia, played by Lady Gaga, Jared Leto, who plays Paolo Gucci, Adam Driver, who is Maurizio Gucci, and then we get Jeremy Irons, who plays his dad. I forget his name, but for all the scenes that Jeremy Irons is in, those scenes are mostly with Adam Driver's Maurizio Gucci, and they are very well shot and well written. Al Pacino, who is Aldo Gucci, who's kind of the crazy uncle who's the business partner of his dad with the Gucci enterprise, who is also the dad of Paolo Gucci, the one who always just calls his son an idiot, and he just always knows every idea that he brings at him, but he still gives him a great life. So overall, for me, what holds House of Gucci up are the performances and the writing for the story. The story is just bare bones, minimalist, cliche, love, power, greed, murder, rich people story. But Ridley Scott directs this with such eloquence, and you can tell scene for scene that they needed a film to be shot like this, just with such pristine camera work, pristine filmmaking. Even the writing and the dialogue, it just screams eloquence and pristine. And that is where I stand with House of Gucci. House of Gucci is just extremely beautifully made and eloquent, that it holds itself up from all of the major cliche flaws. So, overall for me, House of Gucci is a 7 out of 10, which I would still say is commendable. You should watch House of Gucci to watch a great, well-made film, but don't watch it if you're expecting something unique in the story, because it's typical Hollywood greedy storytelling and that's all you'll get out of the story. So 7 out of 10, House of Gucci. Thank you.